This is Johnny Vedmore on Today's News Talk. TNT.
Oh, well, did you watch Prime Minister's Question Time at all today, Lembit, or did you keep your eye on it? Did you see any of the talk? Go on. I was going to say one of the first things they talked about was giving arms and long-range missiles still to Russia, and it just doesn't seem to Ukraine. Sorry, for their attacks on Black Sea. They said, but really they're talking about inside Russian territory, and there's a lot of that. What do you think to the fact that there's not enough money for things like social care, for poverty, etc., that they're still concentrating on the Russia-Ukraine conflict?
Well, the answer is contained in your question, but even so, I'm going to answer it anyway, Johnny. What we saw today is absolute proof of the uni party, where the Conservatives, or what's left of it, is completely aligned with the Labour Party. And we've got Prime Minister Keir Starmer saying that when I bet change, I bet I will do exactly the same thing as as Rishi. Which one is he? And this is the problem we've got. Nothing's changed. In a sense, I don't know if you felt this, Johnny, he's almost trying to double down on this. He's wanting to look like a war leader. And this is really insane. Now, you mentioned some other things there where they're backing off. Let me add two observations about this. One is they're releasing loads of prisoners from prison. We could argue about whether the system works or not, but they're just letting these people out. And the other thing is they seem to have no migration policy to speak of, because as far as I can see, they're just saying, come over here and we'll deal with it when you arrive. So my answer is what we saw in Prime Minister's questions is a confirmation of things that you and I and many of us feel, which is we've got a uni party. The colours changed, but that's all.
Yeah, completely extraordinary how it just seems like Rishi Sunak is he sounds like he's in the Labour Party nowadays. I suppose the Labour Party sounds like they're in the Conservative Party. They almost sound like they're on a date and they're chatting each other up and they're in love. And in the background you've got some strange grimacing going on. How long can this last before people see, or will people never see?
Well, there are two different groups. The public, I think, are getting wise to this already, which is why 4.5 million people voted Reform. It's a protest vote, essentially. And Reform UK, for now at least, seems to be marching to the beat of a different drum. But in terms of Parliament, and this is where it really matters, Johnny, how soon before the MPs rebel? Well, we had 7 rebelling yesterday. And the big picture answer is, I think Keir Starmer is heralding the day when there's an internal revolution. Why? There was absolutely no reason for him to punish 7 of his people. For those who don't know, he suspended 7 members of Parliament for not voting with the party line. Very Soviet. Well done, Keir. Very, very authoritarian. I can tell you from my 13 years as an MP, once you've been suspended once, you just lose the loyalty because you don't think you've got any career progression. So he will probably start provoking his backbenchers. And what I suspect will happen here, Johnny, happy to answer this in more detail in a moment, is they'll eventually gravitate towards a workers' party, Jeremy Corbyn kind of caucus, which will eventually be a thorn in the side of the Labour Party. So it'll last. I think it's broken with the public already. It'll last another 6 months to a year with Labour, and after that they'll be in trouble.
I think you are nailing it. You are spot on there. This is what when I've been writing a few monologues about left and right recently, and about how the centre ground's in charge. And of course, I've been telling people a lot about the article I'm working on, which is going to be coming out soon, which is about Tony Blair's third way, the New Democrats under Bill Clinton, the third way politics that combine the left and the right, suppresses the left and the right of politics so that the centre ground can remain in power without contradiction, and fills up the voids with all different sorts of policies or their own personal sort of wars on terror, etc., things that they can use to distract people on the left and the right. But eventually it leads to resurgent right and a resurgent left, and we're seeing the resurgent right at the moment, coming from Reform, and that means that we've got to see an ascendant left. Is that what you're saying there? Are we going to, within the next year, start to see a proper rise of the left wing in the UK?
I hope so, Johnny. Here's a health warning. You and I want a certain thing to happen. You and I want a new right and a new left to happen. Whether that occurs or not, we have to be careful about. So that's what I'd like to see. What will happen? Interested to know your view on this as well. I think Reform, if it plays its cards right and it's still immature, still making mistakes, it could carry on oppressing the old Tory party to the point of not exactly extinction, but irrelevance. But on the left side, there are two threats. First of all, Reform can now start guns blazing against Keir Starmer, who I'm not confident will be a good Prime Minister. I'd like him to be because I live here, but I don't think he will be. But then there's the Workers' Party. George Galloway, a very, very acerbic, clear, forensic thinker. He could make inroads. He won't become the government, but he could do to the Labour Party what Reform did to the Tories. Specifics, I like being specific. The Labour Party could end up with 25%. The Reform Party could end up with about 20, the Tories about the same, and Workers' Party about 15. Who knows what that looks like as a government? But one thing's for sure. Here's the big picture answer, Johnny. We are in a period of turmoil where the general public in Britain, in my view, has no more faith in the mainstream or the lamestream.
Yeah, and it almost like those numbers that we're talking there and the idea of what that would look like, because two minorities, no majority possible, resurgent right, surgent left, ascendant left, that all suggests that we should be in a system of probably something like proportional representation, so that it's almost like the people are voting for that, whether or not that is the type of government that is in place now. There is a question from the chat, because we've got about a minute and a half, and there's a question, Dark Commission has asked, this is off topic, I think, instead of paying millions to France to stop migrants, which they aren't doing anyway, isn't it time to impose sanctions? Cheese and wine for starters. Serious words there. What do you think to that? Cheese and wine sanctions?
Who's asking that question?
Dark Commission. Very good.
Dark
friend.
Mission. Absolutely no way. I love unpasteurized cheese. I can't get it in Britain. However frustrated I am, I'm going to carry on eating my Vacherin. So no, but a serious answer here as well. What we need to do is have drones. I don't really like surveillance. Drones on the channel. It's going to be a fraction of the cost of the failed efforts by the Tories, and say, you come across, you go back. Where did you come from, sir? Where did you come from, madam? We'll take you there for free. That's what we should do.
It just seems simple, doesn't it? It's, oh, you've sneaked over here. Where are you from? Okay, we're going back there now. I just don't understand why that's so controversial. Yes, if it's a war zone. Yes, if it's a place which is full of death and violence. Yes, of course. But if it's just the fact that people are coming over for economically, then it just doesn't make any sense. And I agree with you. Some people like some tartiflette. They like a little roblechon on top. They want to... They want to get their crackers.
Don't take away my unpasteurized cheese. No one takes that away from me. No, to quote Charles de Gaulle.
Well, you always cheer me up, Lembit. Thank you for coming out on and filling the last 10 minutes
see you soon.
With joy as always, and I'll see you again soon.
This is Johnny Vedmore on Today's News Talk.